So here you have again that list of evidence of scientific literacy that I talked about in the previous folder. These are like the different categories that you can uh, practice throughout the year and collect evidence that you've actually done. But in general, you should also have evidence of everything you've done in class so that you can, at the end, look at it and say, look how much I have accomplished. You can also prove that you deserve the grade you think you deserve if you have such evidence. More importantly, also, education is really shifting in the direction of portfolios. Maybe, who knows, someday this could be useful for you to show an application and show that you've actually acted like a scientist in the course. Look at all the wonderful work that I have done. And years from now, you can maybe even use it for a lot of different things. And the advantage of a digital portfolio is that you can pretty much keep things without clogging up, without the clutter, right? So, how would you keep such a portfolio in my class? Well, the best thing to do it is to use Google Drive. So maybe on your drive, you create a new folder, and I'm inside of a new folder that I created right now, where if by the way, if you do not know how to create a folder, all you have to do is create a new here and hit folder, right? So let's say I'll call that work Lima Jefferson physics portfolio. That's a good way to name your folder, all right? So that I know exactly what you are and for what class this is for, right? So then what you can do after that, right, is right click on it and share, right? And then type in my email, which right now is this. Now, after you do that, you got to make sure that this little thing on the right corner called notify people is on, right? And with that, I should be able to go in your files and see them as you sharing them with me. And I would also make sure that I can edit so that I can leave comments, all right, on your files, right? If you would not prefer that I don't edit, if you go to more, you can actually change lots of different features if you want to. But I would prefer, because for the purpose of this class, that you make me an editor of your folder as well. So then you go there and share. Now, I would also prefer so that I can find everybody that you actually use this naming structure, right? And notice how I already got the notification that was shared with me. You see that? Now, so put last name, comma, first name, and then in parentheses what class that's for. That would be perfect. All right. Now, once you create that folder, I also created this little log file, which I'll talk about in a second. I'm going to throw it in there. So I'm just dragging into the folder, right? And I get a little warning that people will now be able to see that. Okay, so now I'm going to go inside that folder, and here's where my work will live. So let's say in class I do a worksheet, or I do a project, or I do an activity, or I write something on the paper. What I can do is just take a picture of that paper and then upload it right here. So here's an example of such a thing. All right, so this is a whiteboard that was done in my class today, right? So the students did this, took a picture of it, then they can save it to their computer, right? Or even do it from a phone, because you can do all of this from a phone using the Google Drive app. And then you can name it something. Like, for example, I'm calling this the Exploding Demo Can Whiteboard, right? So then in Google Drive, I can just grab that file and drag it there, and it will upload it. And there you go. Since you share this folder with me and gave me editing rights, I automatically have access to this as well. And not only that, I will also receive a notification if you want that the file was uploaded. To do that, all you have to do is right-click on it, click on Share again. Now, even though my name is already there, which means it's already shared with me, if you type my email again and make sure it says Notify and hit Send, I will receive a notification that you uploaded something. You see that? So that's how you submit assignments virtually to your teacher. And that I automatically have like a queue of things to grade, right? So that's the process that you do. Another thing you can do, by the way, instead of dragging it, you can just go New and then File Upload, right? And then you can pick your file and it works the same way. But I just like to use the drag and drop feature, right? Now, let's say, for example, I already have the file on Drive. This is maybe a project that I worked on it virtually, and I created the file on Drive, and I want to share that with the teacher. How could I do that, right? So, for example, let's say I did a lab report, right? And I typed it on Drive, right? So I have this lab report to do it. So here's an example of a lab report that I had. So I just searched for that lab report and I found it, right? So when you do that and you go over here to the details pane, you can see what folder that's located in. And if you don't see the details pane, by the way, you can right click right here on add details, this little I, and then the details pop up. You can also just press I on your keyboard and that screen will pop into. Now, normally it will stay on this activity screen right there, but you can actually click on details to go to this view where you can see where the file is at, who was last open in it, whatever. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this documents little link here. And now I am where the file lives, right? But I actually don't need to do that because even from where the search was, right, before, I can do what I was going to tell you to do. Now, what you're going to do is basically select the file, and once the file is selected, you click Shift-Z. This little screen pops up now, and now you can actually pick the folder where you want to put that. So you need to find that folder, right, that you created for the class, for the portfolio. And I unfortunately have it inside of a bunch of subfolders over here, but it will work just fine in a second, right? So there's your sample student thing that I'm using and the folder that I created. You can leave it in a more accessible place, or even, I mean, if you're smart, let me show you something cool too. Let me find that folder before we do this. Portfolio. So there's my folder. If I press S, that folder becomes starred. You see a little star showed up? You can also do it by right click and clicking on star, right? So I'm going to right click and click on add star. Now that that's starred, that's a folder I'm going to use all the time, so I should definitely do that. It shows up on my starred files. So it's easier for me to find it, right, within my drive. So now going back to the lab report, I'm trying to upload to the folder. So I got the lab report. I click on Shift-Z, right? Now, instead of having to find a folder where I want to put, I just go to my starred, right? And that folder should be right there. There you go. Jeff Lima Portfolio, add. So now it should be in the folder. If I go into that folder, boom, the file's right there. And it was shared with the teacher automatically. Now, I don't receive a notification unless, once again, you go into share, right? And type my email really quick. And if you the second time you do it, it's already going to be saved in there, so it's going to be easy to pick. Make sure the notify people on the right side is marked up, and hit send, and immediately I will receive a notification that you are sharing that file with me. Boom, there it is, right? So then that's kind of how you do it. Now, if you're trying to get that extra bonus for the science evidence, what you can do is go to your log that I created, right? And you can see that I already had done that. So that's how it looks here. You put the date that you did it, what science skill you're actually fulfilling, and then a link to the evidence. Now, let's pretend I had not done this and show you how to do it. So like, you're just going to put the date. So let's say today is the 15th of August when I'm recording this video. And what science skill did I do? Well, I did a lab. And in the fact of doing the lab, I designed an experiment, right? And I wrote materials and procedure sections, so which means that could serve as evidence for E. By the way, just for the sake of the class, you're not allowed to use an assignment for more than one evidence, even though a lab report actually fulfills multiple ones of these categories. That just makes you do more things to collect the evidence on the scavenge hunt, right? So now that I know that's what it is, I can just put, okay, this is the science skill E, and here's my evidence, the plant lab report, right? Now, I do this. I go to the file that I'm interested in that shows as the evidence. I right-click on it, and I click here, Get Shareable Link. That makes the link be copied to my clipboard, which is happening right now. Once this pops up, I'm ready to go. Then I just go back to my science evidence, where I wrote the lab report, and I put Insert Link, which can also happen just when Control K. This screen little pops up, and I can then type the link or paste the link that was in my clipboard and hit apply. Now, when the teacher logs in here, I can see when you did it, what skill it was, and if I click on the link, it will open up the file that is my evidence. Boom! That's how you keep a really cool portfolio. Trust me, this is a really awesome skill to learn in life, to be this organized and this good at showing evidence of how awesome you are, right?